Rogers does to relax before a game? No, not this. This. Very good stuff. Has that effect on people?
All right. Testing, testing. Can you guys hear me? Okay. I don't hear my own sound. I'm going to have to fix that. Let's see. Sound preferences. I should hear sound. Okay. I love this Soundflower. It just makes my life so much fun. Sound preferences. It says Soundflower. Let's take a look. Oh, I have to start Soundflower to put the monitoring on. That's what it is. That's what I forget to do. I always forget to start the Soundflower. There we go. The joys of streaming on a Mac. Maybe it's easier now if I would just update my software, but as developer, that can be risky because when things are working, you generally don't want to touch stuff. Okay, now let's see if I can get my monitor to work. There we go. Okay. So I can make this a little bit easier to see me here. That window's kind of bright. That way? This way more? I'm not sure which way to turn this thing. There's a delay in my stream, so I can't tell. Okay. Did my message go out here? Okay. Welcome to the stream. We are just about ready to kick off here. Okay, I'm going to mute my monitor. Okay. Hello and good day. My name is Ross Shabilsky. I am the founder of D20 Studios. We are a small indie studio developing games here in Salt Lake City, Utah. Currently working on our second project, a top-down deck builder adventure called Summoner's Fate that we will be releasing, I should say, rather say pre-releasing officially next week. So you'll be able to join in and play the game with us and develop and suggest your ideas. It's going to be all kinds of good fun. Real quick, I'll do a quick showcase of what the game is here. So this is our website, summonersfate.com. You can see here we've got a really bright, colorful art style. I mentioned top-down, so this is kind of what it looks like. It's a combination of an RPG adventure with turn-based tactical combat, but you also get to play cards. And so you can see in some of these screenshots here what that looks like. You've got various cards you can drag on the board, and you actually get to build your own custom decks. So as you play the adventures, you get to choose cards, put together a deck, and then, of course, you can take those decks that you custom build, bring them to multiplayer, battle against the AI, battle against other players. We've got just all kinds of fun, awesome things happening here. So I encourage you guys to check this out. Again, our pre-release will be available here on our website next week, and I'll be making that official announcement and press releases out tomorrow. So kind of an early heads up, if you will. Okay, and today we are going to be developing some more cards, including a combination of some player-inspired ideas, some items in my backlog to get into the game. And so we're going to start here with where we left off last week. This is a set of card ideas that were suggested by our players in our Discord conversation. So I am a community-driven developer. I like to involve our players directly in the design and development process of the game. And I've done that since its inception almost 3 years ago, where I queried former players, or I should say not former players, but players of our first game, Hero Mages, to help with the design. And now we've got a Discord and we regularly chat about the game. And so we had some really cool ideas. Last week we built the Red Imp, the Horse Demon, and the Mummy Queen, but we did not have time to get to the Cat of Nine. So we're going to start with that today. And so here's what the cat does. It was originally just a cat, and we had talks in the channel about this cool idea. It was originally, I think the player, Login Error was his Discord name, suggested that he wanted to have a immortal mummy that just kept coming back to life over and over. And we already had a mummy, so we thought, all right, well, what comes back to life many times? And kind of had this idea for the cat with my wife about it having 9 lives as a joke, and it sort of actually fit really well here. So we decided to apply that idea to the cat and kind of transformed it a bit. So what will happen is the Cat of Nine has a power called Downfall, which is an ability that triggers when it's been defeated. We like to avoid gratuitous violence terms in our game, so it's accessible to all ages. So we don't say kill in our game; we just say defeated. And so Downfall is the sort of kind of comical way of saying you know, when I'm defeated, I get to do something. And so Downfall, summon Cat of Nine by your summoner until it's been defeated 9 times. So this kitty keeps coming back until it's been defeated 9 times. I guess avoid saying killed. Not killed. They're never killed. They just go on to the object pool. Okay, that's what we talk about. Okay, so we're gonna go into my custom tool here. Before I do that, I'm just gonna check in and see if we got any channels. Here. Hello, Imza Corella is here. Only 1 week until early access. That's right. I'm so stoked. Excited to get you guys access to the game. More people coming in, playing our community here. It's going to be great fun. We're going to provide an opportunity unlike anything you've ever seen in an early access before, and that I assure you. Player satisfaction is my absolute top priority. I like to make sure everybody feels heard, valued, welcome. Yeah, we're going to have a great time together. All right, so let's go find the Cat of Nine. And so this is my custom editor I built to design the game with. It's important to have this because we intend to have content coming out for many years to come in this game. And so I needed a way to rapidly produce it. Rapidly is a relative term here. It's still quite difficult, but a lot easier than it could have been. And I need to figure out where to put the cats are all under this quad. I've got to really work on my naming and add like a search field for this thing. Okay, Cat of Nine. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so there's the model. You can see it is in here, and this is kind of cool. You can preview the different animations and stuff. He's got a bite attack. I guess if we wanted to, we could also give him a claw attack. He could scratch people. But he's got the bite for now. And you can see I've got just his placeholder text in here. Summon Cat of Nine by your summoner until it's been moved 9 times. This is all just placeholder, so if I type in stuff here, you can see it updates the card. It doesn't actually have any real ability yet, so we're going to have to take that power and transfer it into a real one. So we're going to save this. I'll make sure I copy that. I did. Okay, good. I cut that. I'm going to save him, and we're going to go and actually create this ability. All right, and that's going to happen in our triggered abilities section. Is there a list of cards we will be making today apart from the kitty cat? Yes. I just showcased that earlier. Obviously the kitty cat we're going to start with. And then I've got some cards from our last week, our week 2 that we never got to. And I'd like to come back and take a look at some of these. There was also one kind of easy win card I wanted to do maybe before that. I don't have it listed here, but that was the Mana Burn card. And one of our players in the Discord had suggested a really good fix to its power. So we might jump on that one real quick next, as that should only take a few minutes to do. And then we're going to build some of the cards from week 2. If you want to go and look at that, it's just under Summoner's Fate Forums, Events, Developed with Ross Episode 2, and this is the master list of cards there. So if you got thoughts on which ones of these, like the Fox, we already made Cure and Demonic Projection, so there's Crumble, Meteor, Fox, and the Skeleton Hound. Okay. So let's go ahead and get to the triggered abilities. I'm going to go ahead and find an existing one that's already got a downfall on it. And I'm trying to think where I put those. It looks like I call them Death Trigger here. I haven't renamed the ability here. Okay. Let's try and find a good one that I can clone off of here. Buff Islet. I don't think it really matters which one I use. We're going to use this one. Copy. Okay. We're going to call this, we're going to just use Death Trigger for now, even though they don't really die. I'm going to call this Extra Life, I guess, is what we'll call this cat power. I'm not quite sure. Just need something to refer back to it. Downfall, summon Cat of Nine. And I think I've got a way to, but let's just say summon this unit by your summoner until it's been defeated 9 times. Perfect. Okay, let's save that. Okay, and we are going to get rid of some of these sound effects and stuff. I'm going to save that. I need a good trigger, like just an animation to throw in with this ability here. Let's see, where I got one of those little flashes or sparkles. I'm trying to think back to my previous Does this one have one? Ah, here we go. Perfect. Let's just copy this thing. Extra life. There we go. And let's just do that. And this is just adding some sound effects to him so that he's got a little effect when the ability triggers, just to give some more feedback. I always like to talk about animations and their importance in games. Really, the goal with any animation or sound effects is just to provide player feedback that something is happening, catch your attention, really. And I have a long way to go in finalizing our VFX sound effects for the game, which won't happen until we've got feature completeness and we're ready to do like a nice polish pass to make everything look really, really pretty and shiny. But in the meantime, it's always good to have just some kind of basic sound effect and VFX. So I just kind of clone these placeholder effects I've got in there to make sure we've got feedback. Okay, so it's a death trigger. That's important because our engine will detect whether or not this can be cast when it's on defeat or not. Otherwise, the power wouldn't work if they're actually killed. It also signals it to use the death trigger animation, which is essentially when they use a death trigger, it looks like they explode. They just kind of shake and do a little bit of a different death animation than just a fall down. And then it's a cast ability. Okay, and then these targeting things no longer make sense. We're going to have to change all of this stuff. So let's remove this stuff. Our first goal here is going to be just to get the cat to come back to life. That's the first part of our ability. Summon this unit by your summoner. So we need to make sure that the cat returns the summoner as our first task. Once we've got that working, then we're going to work on the number 9 times factor of it. So the effects are going to be, let's remove this. Okay, create a new one. We need to create a unit. And the unit's going to be the cat of 9. Quad. Cat of 9. Where is he? There he is. Cat of 9. Okay. And yes, save. I'm trying to remember back to my... We need to actually set some properties on it here to make sure that it actually inherits the ownership of this character, which I think it should by default. He's already on your team. It's going to create the cat. So it should by default belong to your the owner of the cat. Okay, so that's going to create him. Obviously, we cannot create him on a target unit. We've got to create him on a space, and we want that space to be not occupied or empty. We want an empty space. Okay, and save that. Okay, now visible empty space. Okay, and we don't want to target everybody. We want just trying to think of how we're going to do this. We want closest to the summoner, which is going to be interesting. We need to target the summoner. Okay, well, actually, we do want to do something here. We want to target visible unit. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of trickery here. Target subject, target, property. We want, not property, let's start with attributes. We want to target the summoner, so that's an attribute, and the summoner is designated by the isHero attribute. Is greater than or equal to 1, which will mean also translates to true in our engine logic. Okay, so I want to target my hero. Let me just check. I'm getting some beeps here. Verify I'm not getting anything important I have to deal with here. Oh, okay, cool. Close this down. Okay. And let's see. So target visible is a hero. Good. That's the first thing. Okay, the next thing we need to do is make sure that it's not just any summoner, but our summoner. So we're going to do target, property, player ID is equal to the target subject ability user, which is the cat's property player ID. Okay, so we're going to target the summoner, a character, a visible. We don't want visible. We want any in this case because it doesn't matter if they can see him or not. All right, so any unit on the board that is a summoner and that is the same player ID as us. So this translates to saying our summoner is the target. Okay, let's save that. Go back to it. Okay, now we need to add a secondary target to place the kitty cat. So we want something that is surrounding the summoner, surrounding primary target. Okay. Summon this unit by your summoner. Okay. Now this also begs the question, what happens if there's no surrounding spaces for this character? Well, this ability will fail. Eventually we could adapt that. I have in my to-do list an algorithm where I'm working on just picking the closest available space to something. I'm not sure if I may even have one in here. I'm not sure. But for right now, in the purposes of this stream, we're going to just use the surrounding and assume that it won't cast it unless there's available space. Secondary target is going to be a space, empty. So we want an empty space surrounding the primary target, and we want to have exactly one of these. So, I know it's kind of confusing. Unique random is not really random, but we just want to be able to put in this property count 1 as the target. Save. Okay. So here we go. Create a cat of 9 on primary target's a summoner, and we want an empty space surrounding it with target 1. In fact, I think there may even be a... All right, let's just start with that. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Okay, so next step is we got to give this ability to the cat. Go to units, go to quad, cat of 9. Okay, now watch what happens when we add the triggered ability here. It's going to actually show that card text on here. Okay, what do we call that? Extra life. Okay, and then I always like to put in 1 that signifies it's no multiplier. Downfall. Summon this unit by your summoner until it has been defeated 9 times. Okay, so he's got the power now. Okay, and our next step is to test. All right. Imzacola says, Cicada Swarm, 3 mana nature spell. Summon a 1/1 cicada in front of all enemy units. Ooh, that's devastating. Oh, I got a bug. That's okay. We're going to ignore that. I've got some kind of weird bug in there, but it doesn't seem to be affecting me too much. It just pops up from time to time. Okay. Oh, something didn't like something. I don't know what it... No, this is a serious bug now because now it's yelling at me. Let's take a look at this a little closer. I'm a little concerned now that there may be some kind of recursion I created with that. Ah, yes. Ross, I remember now. What we did create a recursive loop. We had this problem last time, and I forget which character. Oh, it was the chain lightning. Okay, I have a problem with my definition editor where yeah, this could be a serious problem actually. We have a nested def within itself. That's what's happening here. Yeah. Okay, so what's happening is that the cat has a power now that's summoning itself infinitely within itself, and the definition editor has no way to reconcile that. I am a bit dismayed here because this is actually a very serious problem. I don't know that we can build this ability with this recursion. I don't even know to get back into it because what's happening is the minute I go into that ability, it's trying to... I'll kind of explain what's happening here. Ooh, yeah, this is bad. So what I want to describe here in the development process is basically we've got a definition, a series of data collected that defines the various attributes, abilities, etc. of something. And the way my definitions work is that when they're created, they go into this processor that goes and then tries to find any nested definitions within it so it can create the corresponding assets and abilities that are created as a result of the cascade. Well, in this case, we have a problem because the cat has a power that when it dies creates one of itself. And so what's happening is when the definitioner goes to process, it's looking at this cat and going, okay, this cat has a power called downfall create cat. And then that cat has a power called downfall create cat. And it's basically doing that forever, like an infinite mirror happening. Kind of like if I were to show you this and go, oh my goodness, there's me forever in this loop, right? That's exactly what my program is doing now with this definition because the cat is infinitely recursively going back and referencing itself in this downfall. So what I actually need to do here is the proper fix is to stop that from happening. When a duplicate definition is created, we need to stop the referencing so that it doesn't keep digging within itself to find itself. I guess in other words, it's a bit strange, but that's what needs to happen. So I'm trying to think if there's a way I could maybe attempt to fix this on the stream going into that code. It's going to get pretty logic-y and deep. Do you guys want to go down that path, or do you want us to give up on the cat for now and come back next week with the cat and we can move on to some other cards? I'll leave that to you. we're going to have to solve it at some point to make the cat work. So I could do it now, and we could look at some recursion and try and twist our brains around that, or we could do some other cards. You guys decide. We'll await your response. And just in case, I'm going to go ahead and fire up the code builder and develop everything in ActionScript. So Flash Builder is my IDE of choice. Yes, that's going to be a doozy. And it's funny, I had it on my backlog of to-do list. Ross, fix the bug where the definition editor keeps recursively referencing itself, and it's a shame I hadn't previously fixed this. That also would make our chain lightning work a lot easier. We wouldn't have to worry about having to create sub-nested abilities. All right, so once again, guys, do you want to do some recursive programming, or do you want to go ahead and move on to some other cards? I leave that to you. Oh man, I'm trying to think where I would begin with that. Let's open up a definition. Def attribute holder. This is what it would be. It's that get nested def property. I'm sure certain of it. Oh, cheer. Yes. Oh, dear me. I have to somehow detect, we're going to have to basically store a list of definition IDs we previously created. I actually have a similar mechanism. The same type of problem has a propensity to actually happen in the game when you have a triggered ability that can also be its own trigger. And to prevent the infinite recursion within the game, I actually check for IDs of triggered abilities and make sure that any triggered ability cannot be its own cause. If it is, it stops itself. That's how I solve the problem within the game of this type of infinite loop happening. Okay, I'm not getting any feedback from you guys. Somebody shout out. Don't be shy here, lurkers. Just cards or code. Direct me. I am at your command. Well, my innate personality wants me to dig into this because I'm just that kind of perfectionist person. I want to fix this, but I just don't want to take you down a journey that's going to be maybe not so fun for the viewer. I don't know. Maybe this is interesting. Maybe you guys like seeing me get frustrated and talk to myself while I try to wrap my head around recursion. It is not an easy thing to wrestle with here. Imsicle, what's the bug though? So Imsicle, the bug is that we're trying to create the cat whose power is when it dies, it recreates a new cat. And the issue is that because of how that's structured, we basically have a cat wrapped in within the cat's ability. And when the definition goes to process, it's creating an infinite loop because I'll show my demonstration here. It's just like this mirror thing here, right? I see a mirror image of myself that's presenting me on the screen, but it's going on for infinity because the thing you're watching also contains the thing it needs to present. And that's basically what's happening with the cat. It contains a reference to itself and therefore creates an infinite recursion loop. And so the game can't process it because it's stuck in this infinite dimensional portal like you would be seeing here. I love having this visual example. This is a great visual display of what infinite recursion looks like. Two mirrors next to each other. Basically is the idea. So we have to basically find a way, create a rule to stop that infinite reflection from happening. Yes, that's the fun. And the solution would essentially involve going into this property where I dig for nested defs, and I have to keep a record of the ones I've already found. And if I find an ID that matches one that's already been processed, to kill the recursion so it doesn't infinitely keep processing itself forever. That's the simple part of it, but there's more complications because of how it actually needs to create the unit. I'm concerned about the idea of an incomplete definition. There's all kinds of weird edge cases this could take us down. So it could be simple, but more than likely this is going to involve a lot of head banging. I just want to prepare you for that. I guess I like the card cat can wait. Okay, that's probably a good idea. I think that's probably a good approach here. We don't want to dig into this here. Okay, great. In that case, we're going to abandon the cat for now. And just to make sure the cat doesn't keep giving us errors, I'm going to remove this recursion so that the editor doesn't keep spamming bugs at us. Okay, That being said, let's go back to our secondary list. Actually, you know what we're going to do is we're gonna do really quick the card I mentioned on the Discord, which was I'm going to pull it up. It was a spell, and it was called Mana Burn. Okay, Mana Burn. Okay, so this was the card in question. We were discussing this on the Discord, and one of our players, who's been a long-time member of our community, Scribe, player of Hero Mages, and has been with us on our entire journey here in Summoner's Fate, was going through some of the cards in the pre-release, private pre-release, and suggested that this card didn't make a whole lot of sense. And we discussed at length in the Discord, and I guess I realized that it's not really a good card in general. So first off, what you're doing is basically you're paying 1 mana to spend all your mana, and then deal damage equal to 1 plus the mana spent to target enemy. The idea was kind of like, I've got excess mana to burn, I want to just get rid of it and deal damage. And the damage I can deal is kind of variable based on the amount of mana I have left. So if you want to just get rid of this card and do like 1 or 2 damage, you can do that. If you got 5 saved up, you can do 5 damage. The problem is that it's kind of a crappy value proposition in terms of the cost benefits, because most destruction spells are usually giving you damage on at least a 2-to-1 ratio. Like you've got a Disintegrate spell, for example, that for 5 deals 10. So a spell that spends 5 mana and deals 6 is not really attractive or that interesting. And plus we've also got another spell called, where's the Power Overwhelming? Power Overwhelming. That does the same effect, but instead of dealing damage, it gives you a permanent +X boost. This is actually really good because it's permanently boosting your unit, and you can use it to add like a +5/+5 to your summoner, or sorry, +6/+6. So Mana Burn wasn't really that interesting. So Scribe's suggestion was, instead of making this card about dealing damage to the enemy, what if it's about generating power, and then you take a serious hit to yourself in exchange for that power? That actually creates some interesting situations where this now becomes like kind of a cool card that can be used as a catalyst for something bigger. Like, I need to get a dragon out, and I want him now, but I'm willing to take a hit for it, right? And to kind of give some comparison, we've already got this Mana Surge here, which is just a really simple, you pay 1, you get 2. And there's been this question about, well, why do I have to pay 1 to get 2? Why don't I just have a card that's 0 and you get 1? It's actually a really important question, and that's because of how the Archmage's abilities work. We have a character called the Archmage that can, when he casts an arcane spell, and this is the arcane type spell card border, he gets to draw a new card, and if it costs more than 1, it costs 1 less. It's kind of confusing, but the reason we can't make Mana Surge cost 0 is because he could just basically draw the card, cast it for free, and then draw another card. The fact that it costs 1 helps stop his combo chain from being a little bit too ridiculous. So he's got to at least have the 1 mana in his reservoir to be able to get the benefit of the 2. So we want to do something similar with Mana Burn, where this should still probably cost 1. Anyway, the proposal was something like this. Generate 3 mana and take 5 damage. Okay. So you're going to spend 1, you get a sudden boost of 3, so you're going to get basically a +2, but you're going to take damage in response. So why is this a good spell? It basically means that on your turn, our mana ranges between 0 and 5. Every turn the player generates 3, and you can store up to 5. So the most expensive spell in the game is going to cost 5 mana. And spells, you just saw like a Disintegrate that does 10 damage for 5. You've got a dragon you can summon for 5. And normally it takes 2 turns to pull that off. And that's risky because a lot can happen in a turn that you may have wished to cast something smaller to kind of protect yourself with. This spell would give you the power to instantly cast a 5-drop spell in your hand, but you're going to have to take a penalty to do it. I would actually argue that a penalty of 5 may not even be strong enough. I think we want to make this 6. So it's a little bit more devastating to the user, but at a very, very good benefit, right? Because you take 6 damage, but you're going to need to drop something powerful in that turn. And that can often be the tides of winning the game. So, for example, if you're kind of leading your opponent and you've got a chance to drop a dragon or deal 10 damage in 1 turn, you taking 6 damage but winning in that turn is going to mean it's going to be still a strong benefit to you. So we're going to make this ability really quick because it's a pretty fast one to do with some of the resources we already have. Okay, so we're going to change this to functional, and it's going to need some sound effects. We're going to borrow the same sound effects as we've got for the Mana Surge. SFX cast. Make sure this is cast. And then we want animation. Mana Surge. It's just, again, having some feedback here. Okay, save. Okay, and then we're going to look at Mana Surge. Basically going to kind of copy some of the powers here. Hey, it's Korea801. Thank you for joining the stream today. Pleasure to have you here with us. We are in the process of making some more cards for the game. And also, in case you missed the earlier announcement, the game will be publicly pre-releasing next week on Wednesday. And we're hoping to get more players in the early access with us, playing multiplayer games on our streams. We've got going on in conjunction with the Twitch crew group. And right now we are making Mana Surge, or sorry, not Mana Surge, we're making Mana Burn. Oh, I still need to play this. What platform? Steam. Oh, okay, excellent question. So I'm a kind of developer that likes to phase things out. We've done actually quite a few pre-releases. Right now we are in private pre-release that was for our Kickstarter users and also some exclusives for our trade shows. The next public pre-release is going to be available exclusively on our website. It will be available for all platforms. We have kind of a pay once, pay anywhere philosophy where anything you buy from us, we want you to have access to it on whichever platform you like to play on. So it will actually come with the PC, Mac, iOS, and Android platforms. But it won't be tied to any kind of third-party service just yet. So it won't be on Steam. It won't be on Discord yet. Our plans are to release it on third-party platform once we have finalized our procedural single-player adventures, right? And the reason for that is I just want to get more eyes into the game, more players giving us feedback on the cards and balance while I'm finishing the single player, so that when we do go to Steam, right? Steam's a big deal because you're going to have things like user reviews. It's going to get surfaced to a much greater audience than I have access to, and so we want to be as ready and solid as possible for when that happens. So that's kind of why we're phasing it out that way. Will it be on Google Play? Yes, yes. The pre-release will be available on all the platforms. So the way we distribute on iOS and Google is that we have test flight and pre-release programs on those. So the only way to get access to it on mobile right now is through those pre-releases, and those are essentially invite only. And we can only accept so many testers within the group. It's a pretty high limit, but that will all be included with the pre-release. Okay, so let's get back to work here. We've got Mana Burn is what we're building, and this is a card that's going to generate energy at the cost of taking damage to yourself. And for the effects, we need to basically clone what we've got going on in Mana Surge, the smaller but not hurting you version of this. And it looks like the way we do this is we have a target self, and then by virtue of the self, we redirect it to the actual player who actually stores the mana. And we're going to add mana to the secondary target. So that's the first part, pretty easy. So target self, and then secondary target is any player. And that player has to target subject. Target player is, let's make sure I do this again, Mana Surge. Target equals to ability user player. Ah, I see. Okay. Target subject target equals to target subject ability user player. Okay. There we go. Let me make sure those two match. Mana Surge, Mana Burn, Mana Surge, Mana Burn. Yes. Okay, good. Let's designate all targets. I guess we could have that in there too. That's fine. Okay, and then we want to do type add to attribute, and we want mana. Mana, and we're going to do 3. And not target, but rather secondary target. So we're going to give 3 mana to the player. Okay, the second effect is that we are going to take 6 damage to ourselves. So we're going to do subtract from attribute. Life remaining is the key we want here. A life remaining. And we want 6 on not target, but ability user. Okay. Generate 3 mana, take 6 damage. Add to attribute mana by 3. Subtract from attribute life remaining 6. Excellent. And to make this dynamic, we're going to do effect. No, what is the thing I use? Amp. There we go. And then this is going to be amp 1. Boom. So that's a little trick I do in the card description so that if I balance change this later, once we're localized in other languages, I don't have to worry about those numbers being misrepresented of what the card actually does. See, this is really cool. If I change this to 4, boom, the card knows. It knows things. It's smart. That's a really great way to develop because you don't have to worry about your text having a different meaning than your actual ability. Okay, we've got our sound effects, we got our thing. This card is functional, it is ready to test. Let's do it. So we're gonna go to decks, and we're just gonna throw this in one of our test decks here. I have a good one I could use. We'll use the bear trap test. I'll just throw it in here. So let's go ahead and we're gonna throw in mana burn. This is gonna be a great spell for anyone using Arcane. I would love to have a. I still have yet to make a Arcane red mage, but I would love to do that because I just want to summon dragons all day. I want to summon dragons and burn myself to do it. Okay, so we want the bear trap test. For those who haven't seen this before, this is our map editor. It's one of the modules within the definition editor that actually lets me create levels. But more importantly, it actually runs the game instance within itself. So this is the game. There it is. Or the game engine, rather, and it's running. And it's cool because I can do all kinds of fun things like this, test it in different perspectives, orientations, and we're going to fire it up. Okay, and you can see here that I've got my mana burn. I'm going to generate 3 mana. I've got 3 mana right now. It's going to cost 1, so I should go up to 5 and then take 6 damage. Oh, ouch, that hurt. And I took 7 damage instead of 6. Why, you say? Oh, she. Ooh, that's actually kind of interesting. The spell deals damage, so because this character has a damage bonus, it's actually dealing damage to her. That's interesting. So the spell worked, but we have to do a quick change. I actually kind of like that it did that. It gives an extra, you know, if you're trying to use to cast Disintegrate, you're gonna take some extra heat from it. I kind of like that. All right, let's go to mana burn again. All right, so the keyword I need to use here is not amp 1. It's going to be damage 1. This will make it so that it's the same thing as before, but it because damage is a property that can affect different things, like the those abilities where she deals extra spell damage. No, it should say 7 now. I'm not sure why it says 6 now. I should have had the card read in so it does 6. I'm not sure why that didn't work. Huh. Oh, there it goes. That was weird. Maybe. Huh. That seems like a problem with the. Interesting. How did it? It's like it doesn't. If I undo, it does. Okay, interesting. All right, so there's a bug I just found. It looks like it didn't update the card text until after I undid. So probably there's a step in here where I need to make sure I run the card update algorithm beforehand. I'll have to put that in my notes. Let's make a note for Ross for later. Redocument. Okay. Fix bug where the damage bonus does not show on cards at the start of the game. Notes from stream. Okay, so I'll go ahead and catalog that later. I just want to keep track. So that's a kind of a minor bug, but it's important to get that taken care of. So I'll fix that for the next release. Okay, but the power did work as expected. So there's one card done. All right, feeling pretty good. Okay. All right, so let's see. Korea says, if I have codes and stuff for the pre-release right now here, is there anything else I need to do? No, if you got access codes for the private pre-release, those will all transfer, of course. Effectively, when we do the pre-release, that's all we're going to distribute. We're going to just basically deliver codes. So you are set to go, Korea. Okay, Imsakoa. So I saw that we need to reach 12K or 14, I don't remember, to get the rats. If we reach the goal, would we get them in the core set? Oh, okay, you're talking about the Kickstarter problem. Okay, and I have an idea. How about a minion that was summoned from your deck when restrictions are met? Can also be played normally. Neptune Giant. 2 mana, 3 power, 5 life. Taunt recruit. Freeze 5 minions. Ooh, interesting. Very cool. Yes, I will have some updates regarding the Kickstarter thing. Rats will be in the game no matter what. Whether they're in the core set or not is still to be. Their mechanics are particularly unique in that they're to control time. For those who aren't familiar with the Timekeeper Rats, let's bring those up because they are a fun bunch, and I want to share with you guys the awesomeness of the Timekeeper Rats. For those who aren't familiar, since Imsakoa has mentioned it, and it looks like my website's kind of running a little slow here. The joys of being on a shared server. I may have to upgrade this for the release. Oh, this is painful. All right, let's go to Kickstarter. Let's see. Look at the Kickstarter from here. Let's see. Kickstarter. Pretty sure we're here. Oh, maybe it's my just internet in general is slow because of the stream. Okay, here we go. We're gonna go show you guys what the rats are. Ah, there they are. The Celestial Steampunk Timekeeper Rats. So these were a stretch goal we had on our Kickstarter. After we got funded, we put this as a stretch goal. These are characters designed by my wife, Kelly, who is also our head marketing person and community manager. She organizes a lot of the fun events and communications we have on our forums and social media. But originally, I'm not super duper creative. I would say I'm good with coming up with unique designs in a fun way, but I'm not necessarily the most like artistically creative person. And I think I had the idea. I'm like, well, we need to have rats in our game because rat mutants are cool. And boring old Ross is going to do sewer rats, slimy vermin take over the world kind of a thing. And Kelly's like, boring. So she's like, what if we make something totally original with that and have the rats be clean, prim, and proper, Victorian era. And so she came up with this, and then I said, yeah, but we give them like a cool power. It's like time travel. I'm like, yeah. So hence the Celestial Steampunk Timekeeper Rats, the next best thing since Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? Anyway, so this is what they look like. She kind of came up with the different design concepts and sent those to our art team to create them, and they came out looking just awesome. I love the little monocle on the Chronomancer there. But they've got a set of cards that will actually allow you to manipulate time within the game. This is something really crazy and cool. I don't think there's any other CCG type of game that's ever done this, where you can actually, rewind the turns, go back and have effects on them. I mean, we've got like things like a golem that you summon it and it goes into the past. So it actually rewinds the entire turn, plops on the board, and then the opponent has to redo their turn with this monster that wasn't there before. Weird stuff like that. It's going to be cool. They will make it into the game at some point. Again, TBD whether that will be in the core set or our first DLC expansion. Okay. That aside, complete. We've now made 1 card today. Let's try and make 2 a second. I think our record has been 3 cards. I'd love to get to 4 today. Let's try that. All right, so we're going to go back to our card list from week 2. What do you guys want to do next? We've got Crumble we haven't done, Giant Meteor, Skeleton Hound, and Trickster Fox. So take your pick amongst those 4. What do you want to do next? Korea says, that's awesome. Cure. Cure is done. It's in the game. I did that one in the build. I kind of snuck it in there because we needed it for the poison. So of the ones here completed, we've got this one done, this one done, this one done, this one done. We need these 4. So Crumble. Oh, the Meteor. Okay, fantastic. All right, let's go to Meteor. Excellent. Go back to spells. And we got Giant Meteor. Giant Meteor. Okay. And there it is. Okay, so it's going to deal 5 damage to target space and knock back 8 to surrounding 3x3 area. Okay, so this is kind of meant to be an alternative to things like our Fireball. All right, so Fireball already does 4 damage to a 3x3 area, and then we've got something called a Greater Fireball. Where's that guy hiding? Am I just missing it here? Oh, no, it's Explosive Fireball. That's what it's called. that does 6 damage and then does a 3x3 knockback. And this costs 4. So Meteor is kind of like an in-between those things. It's meant more for the knockback effect. I kind of like the idea of this giant rock just smashing something and then blasting everybody back, but it's not going to necessarily deal damage to them. So let's go ahead and go back to Giant Meteor and start programming some abilities on it. Okay, so first off, we need a primary target. It needs to be visible. And with these type of spells, since it affects an area, we're going to make it AoE. We're going to do unit or space as a target. Okay, and then secondary target is 3x3, so really that's going to be surrounding the primary target. Surrounding means any space adjacent or diagonal, so the 8 spaces around it then creates a 3x3 area. Okay, and once again, this is going to be unit or space. And in this case, let's realize that. Okay. Okay, and that should set the effect. Let me make sure that matches how we did Fireball. Yep, okay, same targeting style. Okay. All right, so now we need to deal 5 damage. So we're going to do subtract from attribute. Subtract from attribute, and I want the numbers to be a number. Oh, sorry. First we got to pick life remaining. Number 5. Okay, 5 damage. And that's going to be on target. Yes, save. Okay, but actually I'm taking it back. We don't want this to hurt the secondary targets, just the primary in this case. Interesting. We're going to do a little bit of creative maneuvering here. We want this to be 5 damage to primary target. We're also going to want to have it so that it deals damage to the spaces, but not the units. I'll explain why. We have a feature in our game that allows spells to affect the terrain. Like you can literally blow the grass off the ground and leave a big giant hole in the ground. We want the meteor to do that, but we don't want the meteor to deal damage to units. The way terrain is destroyed is by dealing damage to it. So we're going to create a special condition here for target subject, target, trait, type unit is less than or equal to number is less than or equal to 0. Yeah. Okay. And then we're going to make another condition for if it is a unit. Target subject target, trait, type unit is greater than or equal to 1. Okay. Now we're going to do some fun things. All right, so I realized that I wanted to have abilities that can get pretty complex. And this logic currently stated is a AND style logic, which means both conditions must be true. So how do you create an OR statement in this engine? Well, the way I do that is by creating groups. This is going to be group 1, and this is going to be group 2. All right, and so now this is an either or condition, and on top of that, we can assign different effects depending upon which group it goes to. Okay, so we know we want the first target to be deal 5 damage. Now we're going to create another effect, which is going to be the knockback effect. So knockback is gravity, and we want to do push from the cast location. Okay, no, not cast location. Push from primary loc. So the impact, where the meteor impacts, we want to push from that location. And then we're going to do the amplitude of that. It's going to be 8. So basically just blast it as far as it can, pretty much. And we want the target of that to be secondary target. Okay, but we only want to blast the units, not the spaces, because that doesn't make any sense. So group 2. Okay, so knock back the secondary targets. Okay, and then we want to do another one, which is going to be subtract from attribute. Life remaining. And this can just be 1 because tiles don't have any actual life. We just need to make sure it has damage. Secondary target, group 1. So this effect here is going to blow up the ground on the secondary target. This effect is going to make it so that it knocks back the units surrounding the primary target. Okay, and we have some additional work to do. We need to make sure that it I guess these are all correct. Okay. We need to make sure it also knocks back the primary target. So primary target, gravity, there's a gravity effect. Okay. Subtype, okay, so the primary target, we can't knock him back from the impact location because that wouldn't mean anything. You can't knock back from the space you're on. So the person who's hitting the center, he's going to be pushed from the cast location. So he'll get knocked in a direction relative to where the meteor was fired from, and also 8 on him. And that's primary target. Okay, move up, move up. Subtract from life remaining 5 on primary target. Push from cast location 8 on primary target. Okay. Subtract life remaining on the secondary target that is not a unit, so the spaces, and then knock back the characters. Okay. So that should be all the effects that we need for this spell to make it do what it's supposed to do functionally. We want to change this to functional, so it shows into the card list. We want to make this cast true, and we're going to want to have some animations for it. And I've got a meteor animation. We're going to take and use that for the time being. Meteor shower. Okay. So I'm going to copy this and go back to giant meteor. And then we're going to go into meteor shower. Copy this. Okay. There we go. So now it's got some effects as well. Okay. Okay. That looks pretty good. I think that's everything. We just give it a once over. Let's look at exploding fireball just to see if there's anything else we may have missed. Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll come back to that scorch thing. I'll talk about that in a second. Push from primary look, cast the code. Yes. Okay, good. All right, I think Giant Meteor is ready for its first test run. Here we go. We're going to go back and go into a deck, and we're going to just change Bear Trap test to be Meteor, Big Meteor test. Okay. Spell. Go back and find Giant Meteor. Giant Meteor. Update. There it is. Okay, so we got Giant Meteor has been added to the test. Go back to maps. Okay, and we're going to want to test this one on a grassy level, because we want to see that ground blow up. Oh, goodness, I've got a lot of characters here. Looks like I must have been doing something. You guys go away. Okay. Let's change our summoner to something else. So, actually, let's keep it as sources. It's fine, because then we can test to make sure the damage is working. Actually, I have to go back and change that too. I gotta think about it. Yeah, we left some things out there we're gonna go fix, but for now, this is okay. Okay, so let's put some dudes around here. This is gonna be pretty interesting. Here we go. Okay, so it is using the AoE effect, which is good. That's what we wanted to see was the square. So if you put it anywhere, okay, good. Line of sight is working. That's good. Okay, we're going to cast on the snake. So the snake should get knocked. The snake and the troll should both get flung back toward their starting area. The cleric, by virtue of the knockback, is going to get knocked into the Matador here, which will trigger a combo. That's what I'm expecting. Combo! Very cool. Okay, so it looks like it blew up all the dirt, which is what we wanted to see. That's good. It did the knockback effect, which is also good. Might be worth trying this on a bigger level too. Let's see, how big of a level do we got here? Just to see if that 8 actually works. How big of a level can I get here? 9 by 14. That's a really big level. Do I have anything that's grass? A big grass level? Let's see. I thought I had a big grass level. Big grass. Undead thing. What is this? Oh my goodness, I must have been testing out the models. That's a really big map. How about big forest? I'm just looking for something that's going to have, I need something that's got grass on it. Let's use this. That's perfect. Okay, and we're going to change the terrain of this to be the grass tile. Let's see if I can do that. Does that change it? There we go. That's what I wanted. Okay, good. Now let's start it. This is just so we can make sure that the meteor is working. I know, isn't that crazy? Sometimes people talk about, like, why I want bigger maps this game, you know? And yeah, you can do that. It's, you know, not necessarily optimal. Things are kind of small here. Maybe we'll make this a little bigger. I'm gonna go full screen. Dare we do it? Let's try it. This map is too big. Character's too small for mobile. Ross knows things. Okay, let's get these guys. Oh, geez, I made it so small that I can't click on these guys now. There we go. Get up there. This is pretty funny. Okay, so we want to see if it's actually going to do knockback 8 on something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that right? Let's see what you're saying. See it again. He was here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It did. It knocked back 8 and it blew up the ground. That's what we wanted. Oh, you know what we didn't check? We didn't make sure it was only dealing damage to the character that was being hurt. So let's make sure. So if I put it here, nobody should take damage. And nobody did. That's good. And if I put it here, it's going to pulverize that poor snake. Yep. And 6 damage was expected because of her damage boost, which apparently is on this character that I'm not finished with yet. Okay. So that is good. Functional-wise, the spell is working as expected. But, you know, aesthetic-wise, not so much. So a couple things we're going to talk about aesthetic-wise here. First off, I've got a meteor animation. That was the small meteor that goes with meteor shower, but it's not really screaming giant with that, is it? So we got to do something about that. And the second part is, while the ground is destroying, which is cool and all, it leaves a little lacking to the imagination here in terms of a crater. Like I want to see a big giant crater after something like that. I don't know about you, but to me that'd be a lot more impactful to see this thing be like a giant hole in the ground, in addition to blowing up all the grass. So what we're going to do next is a little bit of VFX work to get that shaping up nicely. Okay, but functional-wise, we got the card. The card is functional, but we're gonna spice it up a bit. It's kind of fun spell too. I mean, you can really go all out with that, creating fun combos. Right? Yeah, combo. That is pretty fun. Okay, so let's get out of here, and we're gonna go and do some VFX work. So VFX work needs to be done at least right now within the game itself, other than the code. And I'm gonna go ahead and figure out where my spell animations are here. Animations, spell animations. My intent is that eventually all this will be in the editor as well. I just can't extend the bandwidth right now to build the proper external tool. So for right now, at least, it's easier just to have these handmade in the code itself. So here's our meteor animation. Wonderful. And now that we've got the meteor animation, really what we need to do is just make it bigger, right? So we're gonna attempt to do that here. By what's the easiest way? Can I just scale it? Maybe that's the idea. I want to scale the particle, and if I can't scale the particle, I need to basically create a new one. I'm trying to think about how my particle scales will work here. I'm trying to think if that would actually work. If I could just simply scale the particle as it's moving. I don't know that I can. Well, we're going to try that. We're going to attempt to scale the particles and see if that works. Because that would be the easiest solution, would be just to make the thing really honking huge with what we've already got. Okay. Thinking about how to do this. Yeah. We got nullifier. Yeah. All right, let's try that. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to copy this. Okay. And we're going to say meteor, and we're just going to call it giant. Okay, I'm going to go into here. And then I have to change this to say meteor giant. Okay, great. And this is going to extend the meteor. So it's going to be basically having all the same properties, but then we're going to take and tweak it to our liking. And this is also the meteor animation. Okay, and everything about this can probably all be the same. So we're going to just delete all that. Disposing is the same, so we don't need that. So this is a, for those who aren't familiar with the program strategy I'm going here, this is called inheritance. The idea is that rather than trying to create something entirely from scratch. I'm going to take something I've already made and extend it to have new functionality. So that's what's happening with this statement here. Giant meteor animation extends meteor. Basically means I'm taking all the awesomeness of the meteor, but I'm going to take and extend it with some additional functionality. And extension can be adding properties, taking away, and that's what we're going to be doing here with our method. So right now I'm just looking for a functionality that I want to keep and leaving it as is. Okay. We don't need to change the shake, so we can get rid of that. That's going to stay the same. I mean, maybe we could. We can make the shake even bigger. Maybe it needs a bigger shake. I don't know. Maybe we'll take and leave that in there because maybe we can make it kind of fun. We can make the shake even bigger, make it really crazy when it hits the ground. Okay, but the main things we need to change are going to be the scale of those properties. So what we're going to do, I've already overridden the start function. So this is when the animation starts, what it's going to do. It's already inheriting the start, which is what we want. All this stuff here where it's creating the particles and VFX, that all can stay exactly the same. What I want to do is increase the scale of these two particles. I don't know if exactly this is going to work. My particles that I've designed are, I believe, set up to accept scale changes. Scale times equals, let's just make this meteor 3 times bigger than the regular one to start off with. Times equals 3. Okay. So I'm going to delete the rest of this stuff. We don't need that. Everything else about this thing is going to stay the same, except I want those particles bigger. Bigger, better. Okay. And then the explosion, similar kind of idea here. We're going to make that explosion bigger as well. So again, this is, I'm not 100% sure this will work this way. If it doesn't work, then we're going to just manually go and create new particles that are bigger. But I think this might work. Okay. You'll see that there's 2 sets of particles for each one. We've got the particle and there's a normal. I've talked about this in my previous discussion where we've done VFX together. The reason I have 2 different particles, they're basically mirrors of each other, but blending modes are what make particles look awesome. And when you want to get that really bright, fiery looking fire, you're using like the a certain type of, I'm not sure what the combination is, I don't have it memorized, but it's a certain blend mode that creates that really nice, fiery VFX. The problem is that it's rather transparent. So on things like a white background, like you're putting a fire on snow, it's almost invisible. So I use the normal to basically create like a secondary, less transparent VFX behind it that creates the smoke and makes it look darker so that the fire will show clearly on bright colored maps as well. That's why there's 2 different particles for each one. Okay, and all of this can be the same as well. I'm going to do super impact. Okay, so these are the 2 methods of animation. When it starts and when it impacts, all we're going to do with each of these is increase the scale of those things. This one in particular worries me because because the scale happens so fast. But we're going to just see. Okay, and then shake. I'm trying to think what shake does here. This is my shake algorithm. This just looks like it changes the duration. I don't know that I actually changed the. We'll make it shake a little bit longer, so it's going to be extra shaky. We'll make it twice as long. I don't know if that's going to look good or not, but there it is. Okay, let's get rid of all this excess stuff we don't need. I don't like the one ends in my code. Okay. Okay, no questions yet. Okay, continuing on. On start, on impact, shake. Great, this all looks good. We do not need to redefine these private should actually not be here. That guy. Oh, that reminds me, we need to make those protected. Otherwise, this guy can't see those. It should have been protected all along. So protected, 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 protected. Okay. There we go. Okay, and then I guess we don't need this either. All right, so now I've created a meteor animation, but I need to actually have it. What? Okay. You need to actually add it to the code so it compiles with everything. So for that, I got to go to my Bootstrap class. This class is never used within the code, so unless I specifically tell it to Bootstrap, but it won't compile in the game and it won't be available. Meteor, giant, animation. And there it is. So now it will compile with the game. And now we need to recompile the game to include giant meteor animation. So you guys ready? Here we go. Go to here, and we're going to republish the editor. Again, I hope that this will be something to be included in the definition editor in the future so that I don't have to recompile code to add new VFX. Obviously, it would be great. All right, while we're waiting for this to compile, let's take a look. Forest Energy, that looks interesting. Yes. Forest Energy is a card designed for the upcoming Botanical Sage Summoner that's designed to allow her to generate mana from trees by enchanting a tree. Acidic Ooze, 1 mana, 2 power, 1 life pierce. Inflict, destroy the enemy's armor for 3 turns. Imzacola says, animation bug? Oh. No, there's not a bug with the animation. What we were doing is adding a new animation for Giant Meteor. So that meteor that was kind of piddly intended for like a smaller raining fire kind of thing. We want to make a really big meteor so that spell feels a little bit more giant meteor-y. But to do that, I had to recompile the code, so we are all set to go. The animation should be integrated, and we need to now go to our spells here and go to our giant meteor. HG. We can also take out this tag here, non-functional. Actually, we're going to tweak a few things around here. So first off, meteor giant animation we want as a spell. And then we need to fix these things here with our proper tags. So this should really be damage. There we go. And the secondary one should be amplitude. There we go. So that those are reading dynamic for the card. Okay. Save. Okay, we're ready to test this. And now we should see, hopefully, a really big giant meteor. That's 3 times bigger than the last one. Oh, I guess I never saved this one. Dang it. Right. Well, we're going to go to where's my grass road? Grass road. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Hello, grass. This is probably the first level I actually made, and that's why it's got such a score. All right, let's just see if that happens. Oh my God, that was a big meteor. So, kind of just looks like a big fireball. I'm not really sure why I'm not seeing the particle there, but I think I know why. There's one extra step we need to do to that. So that did make it bigger, but it looks like a fireball, not a rock. And that's because the rock is probably buried within that thing. Okay, so cool. I am happy that did its job. Okay, cool. All right, so we need to fix one more thing here, and that is in our giant meteor animation here. I'm going to go back to meteor. So it looks like I had a separate thing. I had the particles, but I also had the sprite container itself, which contains the, somewhere up here I defined, yes, the meteor chunk, the hunk of rock that we want to attach to it. So what we need to do is also increase the size of that projectile, and maybe even also the size of the rocks that come out of it. Let's see, how big are these? Those rocks come out really fine. It's really just the initial rock. So let's go ahead and we're going to fix that too. So where is that guy stored? He's in the sprite container? Is that what I'm getting here? Sprite container. Okay, somewhere in here is where we should create the projectile asset name projectile. Projectile is what we need to make bigger. Let's try that. Let's go into meteor and let's do make that projectile bigger. I think that's all I need to do. Let's republish and see what happens. Okay. All right. Clever name is here. Welcome. Morning, Ross. Your stream is probably almost over, eh? Actually, no. We had to start late today because I had an appointment this morning. So we are running, and we've got another about hour and 15 minutes left on the stream. You are in luck, sir. Okay, grass is gone, but the flowers are not. Yes, yes. Thank you, Imzakora, for pointing that out. I have yet to add decorations on a separate layer than the tiles themselves. So it's a little funny that the flowers don't burn up. I'll get to that eventually. That's just I guess a minor visual bug, but it does need to be addressed. So yes, thank you. Um, and then clever name already taken. Yeah, 20 more minutes. Oh no, yeah, no. So we've got an hour and 20 minutes left. Sorry. And cool, I'm homesick, so I'll happily watch. Excellent. Glad to have you here. Excellent. Okay, so just to give you some context there, we started the stream today attempting to build your Cat of 9, but we ran into the same recursion problem as we had with Lightning Bolt, or the Chain Lightning rather, so I had to give up that because I don't think the audience wanted to see me have a freak out trying to solve the recursion problem just yet. So we switched over to some of the cards from week 2, and we're currently in the process of making a giant meteor more gianty. And we want the grass world map for this one. So we got the meteor big, but it didn't have the rock big, so I just went ahead and increased the scale of the rock, and hopefully we should see a giant rock now with that fireball. And showing the rock. Yeah, so it was there, but still I do see the rock, but it's still, the problem is it's just almost like the fire is just kind of overtaking it. Yeah, that needs work. I'm not happy with the fact that you can't see the rock enough in that thing. I'm not sure why it's so hard to see the rock. Honestly, probably the same issue is present with the regular meteor as well. Yeah, I'm going to call that good enough for now, though. We can see the rock leading the fire there, but probably that VFX needs to be tweaked in general for meteors to look a little bit better for a more distinctive fireball. All right, so we're going to move on. We're going to call that VFX. At least it's definitely better than the regular meteor shower. It's definitely giant, so that's good. But the last part is we need an impact crater. So we're going to go into the second phase here, which is going to be editing some assets. And we're going to VFX. And I don't have a proper creator VFX, so I just kind of pulled in a placeholder we can use for now. And I'm going to need to publish it. So this is kind of just like a placeholder VFX I've got. It's not really in our art style, but it's going to do the job of just having something visual for now to showcase an impact crater. Similar to this guy here, I've got this scorch mark we've created for the fireball, and this is sort of like a placeholder. It's more of a pixel style, but for the purposes of demonstrating a lasting VFX, we're going to use this, and then obviously for final release, when we get the artist to create something that's much more vectory in appearance. But for now, let's see, do I have this guy listed here? We're going to publish this, so I've got that set to go. Okay, and then I'm going to republish this again, so it's got created in there. And it's silly me, I forgot to figure out what that was created. I forget what that thing's called. I need to know the name of it. All right, what's the purple aura? Oh, I'll go back and we'll take a look at that. Fixing recursion is easier to do when nobody's watching anyway. Oh dear, I think I may have messed. I overloaded this thing. All right, we're gonna have to do this step 2. All right, so what was the purple thing? This guy here, that's the force field bubble. That is a lovely piece of programmer art that actually looks pretty darn good in the game because it's just a simple gradiented circle I made for that. This is my taunt VFX. I actually create a lot of my own effects. I believe I created this guy here as well. I did a simple art tutorial to make that scorch mark. But yeah, some of the artifacts in the game I do create. I used to be a graphic designer for a short period of time. Not really ever officially trained, but I could do simple animations of VFX. Anyway, Crater, duh, that would probably be a good name for it. So let's republish this again. I needed to know the name to reference it. Okay, Crater, please remember that in case I forget. All right, and then we're going to republish this. Crater is the name. Spell block, what's spell block, spell taunt? I have not created the spell block or spell taunt effects yet. That is the regular taunt effect. Okay, Yeah, the force field protects you from incoming ranged attacks, including spells. It's a really cool spell. Okay, let's refire up our editor. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to create a lingering effect on the board. And I do that with status effects, and the most notable example is Scorch. So status effects are kind of fun because in addition to allowing me to place lasting attributes upon the units, I can also use them to place lasting attributes on the board itself. And in this case, Scorch is a status effect meant to be placed on tiles as a VFX for the sole purpose of creating that little scorch mark underneath the fireball. And similar to this guy here, we're going to basically clone this. This is basically telling me what the asset name is, and then I have a scaling thing here. I use the scaling because for a lot of these VFX, it's not worth it to have a fully rendered thing taking up memory on the texture atlas. I just scale it, and it looks a little blurry, which actually looks okay when you use it with VFX. So I do that to kind of save texture memory. But this is saying I've got a static asset, it's going to be placed in the marker layer, and it's going to use this asset. So we're going to create one for Crater. Doing the same thing, and all I'm going to do is type in Crater here, like so. Okay, and now we're going to go back to our Giant Meteor spell and finish the final step. So first off, I'm looking at Exploding Fireball. So you'll see here on Exploding Fireball, I added that status effect to the primary target location, which was the space it's on. And we're going to go ahead and do the same thing with Giant Meteor. I'm going to do New Effect, Apply Status Effect. I want it to be the Crater Status Effect. And I would like that to be on primary target loc. Okay, there we go. Save, go back. And now we should get a lot more satisfying exploding meteor than we did before. So observe. The ground has a meteor status effect. That's great. That's exactly how we're going to do this. Okay, so ready? Big old meteor. Boom! There is a big meteor hole in the ground. Again, not exactly in our art style. It's just meant to provide visual feedback and have some fun there. So we'll of course get a proper custom effect drawn out, but that's just to, again, showcase. I got some dust around there and all that. Just to give you some visual impact to make that meteor spell feel pretty fun. All right, so now just to demonstrate the full ability, Giant Meteor does 6 damage because our sorceress is modifying it, and knockback 8. So combo! Oh, that's interesting. It did not. Why didn't it apply the meteor stack there? What the? That's a fun bug. It applied it to. Oh, I know why. We get to change the order of operations. Let's go back. That's why we test things. The primary target location has changed because he's been moved already. So we have to do this first. And then we also have to change this to be 1 and this to be 2. Okay, there we go. All right, now it should be good to go. Grassy, grassy, grassy. Grassy road. Okay. The undead flowers are still there. Yes. Okay, here we go. Make sure that's working. Combo! There we go. That's what I wanted to see. The crater is there. Okay. So there's what Giant Meteor does. Creates a big hole. And combo! Blasts everybody away from the hole best it can. And it's really good for creating combos is really the intent of it. Combo! Yeah. So not that necessarily the spell is not necessarily about damage, although it does hurt the target unit there, but it's about not create those really sweet combos. So kind of a fun spell, and it creates a big hole in it, which is also fun. Combo! I'm just a snake sitting in my crater hole. One of the really great thing about this, check this out. Let's see here. I'll do one more fun little test. Where's my dex? Let's go back to the big meter test. I'm going to put in spell. What's that one that gets rid of all the status effects? Cleanse. There we go. Dun, 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 dun. There we go. And Grassy World. Take that, tree. That's a little funny looking. Oh, interesting. I thought I could use it to remove status. Oh, maybe I was tweaking this one actually. That's why. I was doing some debugging on. Okay. It should have removed the critter, but I won't worry about that right now. Okay. Meteor here is done. All right. Next on the docket, we've got Crumble, Skeleton Hound, Trickster Fox. Choose. Does knockback go around corners? Hey, T-Lark is here. Welcome to the stream, T-Lark. We are making some more cards today. We finished 2 so far, Nana Burn and Giant Meteor. And you get your choice of our next card. Crumble, Skeleton Hound, or Trickster Fox. Fox seems hard. I want to see you suffer. Okay, great. I accept that challenge. I accept it. It's a joke, but I want the fox. I want the fox. I want the fox. Okay, great. Well, to be fair, we're going to cheat a little bit because I've already done some work on the fox. But his last part I haven't got done yet. So here's the Trickster Fox. Quad. Trickster Fox. Trickster Fox. Trickster Fox. Where is he? Is it just called Fox? There it is. Okay, so swap position with an ally, combo attack closest adjacent enemy on swap. Okay, those are his 2 powers. And I've got this programmed already under a support ability called swap position. So we're going to go take a look at what that does. Okay, support abilities. Under status effects. Support ability, and that is called swap position. So this is how I create support abilities. All the abilities are stored under status effects because status effects can also carry actions. They're very versatile components. And you see here, all I do is change the context to ally. These are your possible contacts you can have. And like a far shot would be ranged, and then melee would be just the regular melee attack context. And it's going to use the swap position effect with the ability user on the primary target. And support effects always target allies, or they should. So any unit that's not the ability user, not a placeable, you can't swap with terrain, and it's on the same team. It's going to allow him to do the swap. So let's go check that out right now and see kind of how he's working so far. The harder part of this character is maybe his little jump ability he does. So let's do quad. Fox. What's the fox do? Oh, just say. I like fox. Yeah, he's a fun character. I like foxes are kind of known for their sly and trickery, so this seems like a cool power for him. All right, so he has a support ability, so he's going to swap with allies. So you see right away, he can move and attack like normal, but he's also got that cool little reticles appearing on your ally. So pretty fun. So he's pretty fun. He's got some interesting use cases that he can have. Notably, I mean, I can't even begin to think about the ways you can use them really, but like one key thing would be you can use them as like a, I need to get my ally out of trouble. So you can use him to warp your summoner out of the way. He's probably going to get killed when that happens, but you know, he's going to get to fight things. So. And it's even weirder when you get 2 of them, because then you can kind of use it to pop in and pop out. Let's make 2 Trickster Fox and see how that scenario might unfold. So if you had 2 of them in your deck or on the board at the same time, rather, you could do something pretty fun. Like let's say you had one over here. Let's say for sake of argument, like I need to. Oh, I know a good idea. If you had your, let's put like Tom Larkworthy's assassin out there. This is probably a good use case for him. So we got this assassin character. Where is he? Where's that assassin? There he is. So we're gonna have team. Okay. Okay, so let's say we had the assassin, right? And let's start the game over. Okay. And let's just say, for sake of argument, the board looked like this. He's got a power where the assassin is going to deal +8 damage on backstab, which is just going to basically outright destroy something. But he can't make it to the back of this troll, right? However, oh, I guess the fox would already have to be there, though, to do it. Interesting. How could I do this? I guess if I swap with him first? Yeah, see, that's going to be kind of a limitation. You can't move and warp. But I could take it back. I could do this, though. You could swap here, and now he could do it. Aha! Ton damage right there. But then also, if there were 2 foxes, work him in, attack, and then use the second fox to work it out, and then attack. So that's pretty wild. 8 damage. Keyword idea: Fragile X. When it hits, this unit gets knockback X. Interesting. Like a reverse, the reverse of knockback, or sorry, like a built-in knockback for small things that get kicked around. Kind of fun. Okay, so yeah, I'm not entirely sure how foxes will be used yet. That's kind of the weirdness of the ability. I love the design concept of them being something that can use to warp your guys in and out and cause frustration on the board, but I don't quite necessarily know how to master the fox yet, which is kind of interesting. You would think that we've come up with this power, therefore we have an intended use case for it, but I don't. I design things all the time, and I have no idea how to use them masterfully. That's the fun of it, to let players figure that out. I don't know. I'm not the best player at my own game by any means. But yeah, foxes switching other things around is weird and fun. So what we really need to do is get his last part of his ability working here, which is we want him to combo attack the adjacent unit on swap so that he can warp in and bite something to make his power a little bit more fun. So to do that, we're going to have to create a new trigger for him, and we're going to look at the existing combo attack trigger to do that with. So I'm looking at. Yeah, this is the combo. Counterattack on gravity is the current combo attack method used. Okay, so we're going to clone that. We're going to call this combo on swap. Maybe we should just keep it consistent. Counterattack on swap. Okay. All right, and everything's the same except we don't care about the subtype being gravity. We want the subtype to be teleport. Let's start. Ooh, oh dear, something didn't like that. Didn't like it, didn't like it. Is this another case of an infinite recursion? Seems unlikely. So I haven't attached this to anything yet. Why would that make a difference? I don't know. Not sure why I got that bug, but clearly something about that is illegal. Interesting. What about this is... I'm a bit puzzled by that. Something about that is clearly... Huh. But now it seems to be working. Oh no, it never changed it. Why? Huh. Add to board. Teleport. Whoa. Wow, that's a... Oh, I see. We don't have a subtype for teleport defined? Interesting. Okay, so this is telling me there's a missing parameter here. What's that event type called? I never defined it. This is my kind of double measure to make sure I've got definitions defined in both places. Trigger subtype, position change type is what we're looking for. Teleport's there, so what's the dealio? All right, we're going to look at the actual definition in the database itself. Definitions ever. me see how I got this defined. Browse data. Type position change is what we're looking for. Ah, yeah, look at that. It's not capitalized. Silly Ross. Save. Okay. Easy bug fix. No changes. Close. Restart this thing. Okay. Nerf preview. Summon Fox and swap on turn 1. Oh, it's only with allies. Yes, yes, yes. Maybe Crumble should be named Crush or Crack or Break. Yes, the Crumble no longer applies when the... It was originally meant to just kind of have the thing fall apart, and then our team came back with a kind of more blasting it, like I think it was considered maybe renaming it Demolish, like you're demolishing a building would probably be more appropriate. Okay, so let's go back to that triggered ability for the Fox. It was called Triggered Counterattack on Swap. Okay, so now I should be able to change this to teleport and not get an error. Nope, not that one. There we go. Okay, and everything else, let's leave the same. I think that might be all we need to do for Fox. Let's take a look. Quad Fox. We do need to give him the ability, so go to combo attack, counter attack on, oh, sorry, trigger ability. Counter attack on swap. At. Okay. Good. Cool. Save that. So let's see what happens now. Now, I believe for the combo to work, it would also have to swap him in a position where he's facing that character. But let's see what happens. Oh, he didn't do it. I'm sad. Why didn't it trigger it? Let's see if we got something here. I feel like that should have worked. It doesn't look like the trigger fired. Oh, maybe. Well, let's take a look. Trigger abilities. Let's see how that thing fires. Okay, counter attack on swap. Okay. On enter position, trigger event. Okay. Try to look at the conditions. Event activator faces. Ooh, this is interesting. I see here. Okay, yeah, this is not the same meaning as it is for combo attack. Okay, event activator faces front or sides of ability user. That is not correct. This entire logic here is wrong. It's wrong. Yeah, because the combo attack is meant when you bump into somebody else, like something gets knocked into you, not the other way around. We need to make this ability where he combo attacks when he teleports. He's going to try and attack the closest thing to him. So what we actually want is, we got to change this up quite a bit. Okay, we do want it to be on teleport. Okay, we don't care about the activator. This is not true. The activator in this case is also the ability user. So this logic doesn't make any sense. Let's get rid of that. Okay, I don't necessarily care about it being the player's turn either, because it's always going to be the ability user's turn when they use this, and get rid of that. We do need ready stance. Ready stance is what determines whether it has used its combo or not. Ability user life remaining greater than or equal to 0. We don't need this either. Ability user cannot attack. I guess we'll keep that one in there for now. Okay, event activator for us is, yeah, we don't care about that. Event activator is adjacent to ability user, no. Event activator position change is greater than or equal to 0. That also doesn't matter. Okay, so really we just need when this thing teleports, if it's got a counterattack available and it can attack. Those are all good points. Okay, so we need a new condition. it's got to have enemies around it. So we need a, try to think what that condition would even be. Trigger subject, ability user, property, num, surrounding enemies, num adjacent enemies. There we go. That's the one. Is greater than 0. Okay, so there's got to be an adjacent enemy next to when he teleports. Good, good. Okay. Let's do the same thing here. Okay, and good. Attack contacts melee. Okay, ready stance is greater than or equal to 1. Life remaining is greater than or equal to 0. Can't attack. Again, this one should automatically be handled by the engine at this point. Ability user is adjacent to target. Oh, target. Yeah, target method. It's going to have to be action default now, so we can remove this. Okay, so we need to basically pick an attack unit, and we're going to do, shoot. I want to attack all targets. I don't know what this is. Closest adjacent face. That's what I want. Oh man, is that right? Yes, it is. Target subject. Target. Oh man, this is really complicated because I'm trying to think we want it to be within his attack range. I think this is right. Traits has to be a unit. Number 1. And we also want it to be not on my team. Target subject. Target. Property. Team is not equal to my team. I'm going to do one more thing too. I'm going to change this guy. Instead of being that, I want this to be target subject property team is not equal to 0. This is a little bit different. What this is doing is making it so that it won't attack neutral placeables, but it will attack enemy controlled placeables. If it say like teleports in front of a Gate of Fate, it's okay to bite it. But if it teleports in front of a cactus that's not controlled by anybody, don't bite it. Okay. Now, this can be, this is irrelevant, whatever this target method is. This could just be self. Let's leave it at that. Because we really want closest adjacent faced enemy. Yes. Okay. And this should be on secondary target. Okay. Let's try it out now and see what happens, shall we? Booyah. Okay, here we go. Put him up here. Put her right there. Didn't do it. Okay, it looks like it did trigger. Fizzles because there are no legal targets. Interesting. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Getting somewhere. Here we go. Let's take a look at our counterattack on swap again. So it fizzled because there are no legal targets. So it triggered, but then in this step here it got fizzled. Ready stance is greater than or equal to 1. Can an attack is less than 0. Okay, so why did this trigger false? There are no legal targets. Huh. I wonder, it's got to be one of these two conditions that cause it. Let's remove these two conditions. Okay. Save it and fire it again. Here we go. All right, Foxy. Foxy Fox. Why? You're supposed to bite him. You didn't bite him. It triggered it. Oh, interesting. It triggered it twice. And it fizzled twice. That's interesting. Well, first off, why is it triggering it twice? We have a problem there we need to fix. Let's go look at that condition again. It should not be triggering it twice. So that's the first thing we're going to address. Counterattack on swap. Vigorous crumble. Is it Fox that contains counters or the ally that swaps or both? Yeah, it's the Fox is supposed to combo, not the ally that swaps. Okay, so the issue here is that we did not do this condition, which should be trigger subject, event activator is equal to trigger subject ability user. That's where we made the mistake of first. That needs to be it. So the person who's teleporting is the user, and it's the position changes type. So activator, the grid object that changed position, and the ability user is the one using the ability, and it has to be a teleport. It'll trigger. All right. So the weird thing is that it's triggering it, but then it's saying that there's no legal targets, which is bizarre to me, because at the very least it should be applying the status effect, and we have no conditions on the unit itself to add it as a target. So I am a little baffled, but let's see if that somehow helps anything out. And then we'll ponder this some more. Okay. So you go up there. Okay, so once again, okay, so we did fix it so there's only one of them triggering, which is correct. Counterattack on swap fizzles because there are no legal targets. But it triggered, but now there are no legal targets. So something, triggered abilities. Okay, I think I know why it's doing this, and it's kind of complicated. Yeah. Okay, counterattack on swap. Yeah, let's think here. Let's think. So, yeah, I see why it's doing that. It's a bit frustrating because it's considered an attack and it's already used its attack, so it's quite interesting. But see, I'm still confused though because it's a triggered ability, so why is it fizzling here? I know it's one of my logic checks that's causing the problem, but I have not deduced why it's causing this yet. So it's coming into this thing. Okay. It's not using the filter, which would be interesting. I'm honestly intrigued as to why this one works now, given it's the exact same kind of thing happening here. What am I missing here? Something is missing in this puzzle. Why is it saying there are no legal targets when we're just simply trying to target ourselves? So, man, that is a tricky one. Unless something here is happening. Let's just go ahead and see if we can get it to, let's turn this off for now. And then I'm going to take and remove this for now. We're going to see if we get that to work at least. See if there's something going on with that. Maybe it's something with the secondary target. I don't know. I'm intrigued here. This is a bit puzzling. Okay, so we're going to try and put it in there. Combo! Ah, there we go. It triggered that time. Okay, so now we've isolated where the problem's happening. This is a familiar scene, says T-Lark. Okay, so we've got the combo to work. And it did exhaust his counterattack. Good. Okay, so now we've got to figure out why it wasn't working with the targeting. So something with my targeting there was wrong. Okay. So let's go back to this again and go back to closest surrounding fixed is what we had before. Okay. Target team is not equal to user. Target team. Oh my goodness. Do you guys see this right here? Look at that. Target team is not equal to target team. Well, that statement will never resolve to true. It should be a build user team. Look at that. Actually, I think I'd like to do this target and then a build user. That's why it wasn't working. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is an interesting thing. I've discovered that when I have these secondary targeting methods, apparently I must have some weird logic that requires there to be at least one valid secondary target. That's why it was not saying there were legal targets, because it was failing the secondary target check. Okay, so let's go back to again. Let's save this, and I try to remember what the attack context melee. That's what I need. Okay, so attack context melee on secondary target. There we go. That's what was missing. That's what it was. Okay. Shall we try one more time? Okay, little fox is going to go bite somebody. Okay. Ah, come on, man. Log cast command execute. Oh dear. No! Really? Really? Let's look at this again. Oh dear. Triggered abilities. Oh, this is painful. Programming is hard. Is there still something wrong with this? Team not equal to 0. Ability user team. Okay, we're going to debug this because I am out of ideas now. We'll track this down. 0 hit combo. I feel like there should be a runtime error thrown if you ever compare something to itself. Yes. You would think. I have not built that kind of. Normally, in a scripting language, you would get a warning. You would absolutely get a warning for comparing something to itself. Or the other common error is when people do, if something equals but not double equals something else, it'll throw a warning because that means assign, not equals to. So, but I don't have any language warning checks in my engine at the moment. All right, let's go take a look and see if we can figure out why that log error is happening. Something is null. I don't know why yet, but I'm sure once we see it in the debugger, it's going to become very apparent what I've done wrong. It's easy to get mad at the program, but the truth of programming is whenever something is wrong, it is almost 100% your fault. There are exceptions when you find some kind of weird thing in the engine. I've programmed enough to find things where it's not actually my fault. But in 99.9999%, it's always your fault when something goes wrong in programming. Okay, here we go. All right, let's see what our error is. System overload. Really? Come on, where's the... There. Okay. Target player. Target subject.player ID. So it looks like target subject is null. Why on earth is target subject null? Targets 0. Interesting. Let's take a look at the events and see what that is. Event, targets. There are no targets being passed, which is interesting. That is very peculiar. Okay, let's take a look at the cast action. Designated primary targets is 0? Is that what it's saying to us? Primary targets is 0. Secondary targets is also 0. This is a true game. It's attempting to cast this ability, and there are actually no targets. What? How is that possible? Cast action. Okay. Something is definitely odd here. Something is definitely odd here. How the heck did it get to this place and not have... Let's take and see. We'll trace it back a little further, shall we? Let's see what we got in the scope chain here. It's not going to be helpful in figuring this out. Trying to track down here what's going on. Target, designated target. Who is this target? This target is the humanoid female. What chaos? What? That is unusual. Why am I getting the target as the sorceress, it looks like? We have got something very strange going on here. Okay, designated target, chaos, sorceress. Why the heck would she be performing an action? What is... Oh, okay. Wait, no, it's because... No, I'm intrigued as to what action she is the target of. Let's see what action this is. Designated target. What's the action of this thing? This action. Special ally. Swap position. Okay, that's true. She's the designated target of the swap. Yes, that makes sense. Okay, so that does make sense. I'm trying to figure out how we got to a place where the targets were 0. Very interesting. Command string. Execute interaction. I would have expected to see a... Alright, let's see what action this is. This is the triggered counterattack on swap action. Okay, so who fired this? This should have been something here that looks like it got added to stack here. It looks like it did have a primary target of 140 initially, and then it seems like it somehow got lost in there. I believe that's where it would have been added. Secondary target is... Oh wait, what is this? I is spell 149, 140. Okay. 140. So what's 140 in this case? Cast action. I am so boggled as to how we got 0 for these targets inside the cast. That is really strange. And also, why is this coming through as a function here? And we never saw the trigger for it. Let's take a look at this guy. Primary targets, that's what I want to know. Description, who's the primary targets here? Why am I not seeing it? It's a static function. Why can't I at least see the variables for this guy here? Oh, it's because it's within an inline function. I can't detect the variables. That's a shame. I really want to know what the target says there. Oh man, this is a tricky one to debug. So somehow when it came through, those targets were both set to 0, which is really bizarre, and that's why we're getting that error. How did the targets become nothing when it got through to here? Is the targeting done before the swap? Yeah, that's an interesting point. Is the targeting done before the swap? That would certainly explain it if that's the case. That's a great point. The targeting would have to make sense after the position change. I would think it has to, the position change would have to happen first. But that could be an explanation. We'll look at that. That's a good call. Okay, let me just ponder this a little more. That is really weird. Okay, we're going to turn on some additional logging to help us figure this one out. That is, wow. Okay. So we know why it's happening. When it casts the action, it's getting 0 targets. But the weird thing is it should have never casted if the target was 0 to begin with, as far as I can tell. Let's kill this. Okay, we're gonna look at a few things here. We're gonna look at triggerability first. I need to make sure that this would even fire if it got to the place where it was before. Get ready for some fun coding here. Okay, primary target's length greater than 0. Secondary target's length greater than 0. Okay, so we can only execute triggered events if the targets are greater than 0. Or the target method type is equal to action default. Ooh, that is a warning sign. Or target effect method type is equal to action reverse. Yeah, so that's why we're using the action default here as the targeting type. I see. Let's go back to that cast action. I'm starting to get a hint of what this may be. Action. Cast action. Okay. Yes, we should have gotten something here at this phase where it attempted to get designated primary target according to the rules of it and get secondary targets here. This step in the chain should have given us a place where it rechecked the targets. And then the weird thing though is, how did it get here? This is why this is strange. We got down to here and designated targets. This is where it fired that cast event, but if it was legal, false, it would have fizzled. Oh man, I'm just so lost here. How that happened? It should have fizzled when it got to here in the cast event before it ever got here. I need to run that one more time. This is tricky. Programming is hard. Oh, I feel like this is something silly too. Like last time, I probably just missed something so trivial, like the wrong pointer. I'm gonna rip my hair out now until I find it. Okay. Let's go back to the same level. I haven't forgotten Tom Larkworthy's idea either, which was to go back and check when that trigger fires. We will look at that, but more importantly, I don't understand why. Okay, there it is right there. Okay, so we know this is where it's happening. Okay, go cast action. Okay, here. All right. This is why this is weird. If it was illegal, it would have fizzled and never got here. So how did it get here if there's no targets? That's the question. We need to look at this. Designated targets is empty. Secondary targets is not empty. Interesting. And it has 2 of them. One of which is itself. Interesting. So that begs the question of how did designated targets get set to 0? Because the designated target was itself. That is really strange. We have the targeting method of the fox set to be itself. So how did it get cleared? And also in here, we said that primary targets was 0. This is also strange. Primary targets, I want to look at that. 0. Primary and secondary targets are both 0, which makes no sense either. Probably because it's detecting that at the time of the action, but I am really intrigued as to how designated. So here's where it should have set them. So designated targets clearly got set correctly, but the primary targets did not. Okay, let's look at this logic here. Maybe it's something in here. If new trigger since last cast, is that true or not? Let's see. I don't know if that's true or not. Is that class property? Okay, new trigger since last cast. Is that true? Where are you? LN new. It is true. Okay. So it's in here. So type equal triggered and filter targets and primary targeting and target method not filtering targets. Oh, but we don't know for sure if it's in here. I still think it's this. I don't know which one of these two methods it's in for say yet. It could be in either one of these things. I think it's going into here. We need to figure that out first. Which one of these two methods is going into. Because this one looks like it has some different effects. Yeah. If it's going into here, this is a problem. Yes, it is. That's exactly what's happening. Ooh, this logic here is incorrect. If type, because at this point, designated targets is not equal to true. It's going into here, and it's if type equals trigger and filter targets is not true. This scans only the conditions. Okay. Validate primary targets. This method seems odd. I even have a note there. There's something wrong with that logic. Oh man, this is going to become boggling, isn't it? This method scans only the conditions since we cannot recheck targets that may have been passed in from triggered abilities. Validate primary targets, designated primary targets. Well, if designated primary targets is 0 at the beginning, that's going to be a big problem. All right, we need to turn this trace statement on so we know what we're getting when we come in. All right, let's close this down. Okay, our answer is going to be in here. All right, turn this trace statement on so I can see what we're getting as far as primary targets. Okay, the other thing we're going to do is I need to also know the secondary targets, so let's add those in. So I'm going to hack this log a little bit. Secondary target. Okay, and trace names for secondary targets. Booyah, there it is. Okay. All right, so that way we can read what's coming into it. Okay. Now I want to know which one of these statements it's coming into. I'm assuming it's not this one. All right, trace path A. We're going to call it that. This one will be trace path B. And this one's going to be trace path B1. And this one's going to be trace path B2. So I can figure out exactly where this code's going, and then we kind of figure it out. Yeah, I have a feeling that if designated primary targets is coming in at 0, then we have a problem that is never going to be set to anything else, and therefore that log is always going to be untrue. Real quick, when we go back and recompile it, we're going to check and look at that conditioning for that first target. I'm really concerned or curious as to why the primary target is coming in as 0, because it should be targeting self, which should always make that target valid. So hopefully we can figure this out in this next run. Okay, first thing we're going to do is just double check and look at the conditions to see if we maybe can figure it out inside of here. So I know that primary target is null, and I look at the trigger on swap. Primary target is self, primary target is unit. So that primary target should be the fox. There's also another thing here. We need to make sure that, oh, I am still intrigued by this, because we saw that we had 2 secondary targets come in with this algorithm, which also doesn't make sense to me, because target team is not equal to ability user team. Yeah, I am intrigued by that. Okay, I'm very curious to see what we're going to learn here now in this next debug run. Yeah, I don't understand how there could have been 2 targets. All right, we're going to do a couple things here. I'm going to monitor. I want to kind of get a sense of who these targets are. Okay, so that person was who moved? Trying to figure out the ID of that. Primary target, that's the space ID. I wish I was trying to figure out what the ID of this character was. I'm just getting notes here to figure things out. Okay, so move, attack, primary target is 202. Okay, so that cleric is 202. Cleric is ID 202. Okay. The sorceress is 140. Okay. And the fox is 148. That fox is 148. Whoops. That fox on the right. 148. Okay. So here we go. I want to do let's find out what's going on. Okay, cast action. Let's look at our trait statements here. What the? What? All these animations are being created before we even gotten to the thing. Oh, here we go. Path B2. All right, so now we know where we are. We're in this statement. Yeah. Okay, now I need to figure out where that. Where's that first statement where it says where? Where's the rest of this? Where's the cast statement? B2. Here we go. Cast action, counterattack on swap. Both primary and secondary targets are empty, according to this, at the time when we come in here. So that's interesting. And is this type action triggered? Maybe that's the problem. That could be an issue. Type. Aha, that's the concern here. That is the mistake. But what's the context type? Triggered. Yep, that's the problem. This should be context, not type, because it should have assigned them both here. That's quite interesting. Okay, let's change that property here to context typed. Okay, that should fix it. That's a mistake. Reload it. Okay, one more time. I was wondering how it was getting to that secondary loop there. You need a stepping debugger. How long will the stream last? We've got another 20 minutes on this stream. All right, we're going to get this fox done. I guarantee that. I am not going to rest until this fox is done. All right. Let's go back in here. In here, test, okay. Combo! What the? He just bit himself. That's not right. Combo! What? Why would he bite himself? Combo! Interesting. Combo! Okay. Interesting indeed. Triggered abilities. Okay, so we need to look at that ability one more time and just get that last bug fixed out. So he actually did, it looks like he bit both of them, was the issue. Okay, so we've got closest surrounding faced unit. Okay, yes, we do have a bug here. I didn't pick one. closest. Secondary targeting count, we want 1 target. But more importantly is, why did it not, okay, target team is not equal to ability user team. So how is he able to bite himself is the question I have. All right, before I change his ability, I want to, I'm really weirded out by, wait, target team is not equal to 0. But these should be and conditions, so how the heck was the fox able to bite himself with this condition? Target team is not equal to ability user team. How was he able to pick himself? Oh, wait, hold on. But we're also targeting self here. But I'm specifically saying attack only the secondary targeting, so that is definitely weird. Okay, let's add a condition for target subject. Target is not equal to target subject ability user. Let's see if he bites himself now. We're not going to change this other part just yet because I am really confused as to how he's biting himself when he has to be on his own team. So that is strange. Combo! He still bit himself. Why did he bite himself? One sec here. He attacks himself and deals 2 damage. That's very weird. Counterattack and swap resolves. How is he attacking himself? Also, it says deals 0 damage, which is even weirder. But oh, he did deal 0 damage. He only hurt the armor. Why is he biting himself? Teleportation sickness. He says, go Fox, progress though. Teleportation sickness is a hell of a drug. Yes. Yes, it is. He's confused. Why are you biting yourself? Stop biting yourself, Fox. Stop biting yourself. Combo! Let's do another test. I'm also curious if the Fox is biting the teammates. Combo! Okay. That's helpful. Okay, so at least he did not bite this character. So in my mind, that's telling me combo. It's got to do with that targeting self. Somehow the target self is combo. Adding in there's a target for that effect, even though he should be excluded from that. Combo. Because he did not try to bite the other guy. Now he will bite this paladin. Combo. Okay, because we didn't set the target count, so that's expected. But why is he? That is still weird. All right. We very clearly say only on the secondary target. So I'm assuming it must be something about how my attack contacts melee works that is causing the issue there. Interesting. Interesting. There must be something with this ability here that's affecting it. Closest surrounding face, target's not equal to ability user. Even still, how would it be able to attack itself? That's so strange. Okay, that's the bug. It's how this status effect works that's causing the issue. I'm certain of it, because he's getting wrapped into self here, so it's going to always use this ability. I think the way I've set this ability internally is unique and allowing him to get wrapped into here. So I'm trying to think if there's another way we could hack this without having to redo all the code again. Basically, we need to make sure that primary targeting is got something as a valid target. Closest surrounding face. Is that a valid target? Oh, duh. I can just do this. I can just make this the primary target. This would make it so much simpler. Okay, so target subject, target, property, team is not equal to 0. Save, new, target subject, property, team is not equal to target subject, ability user, property, team. There we go. Yes, I'm feeling it. Okay, and remove this, remove that, you go away. There we go. and then we want to have closest one. It's going to just be that because this is already going to take care of that for us. Good. Save. Okay, now it should be working. Let us try. Okay. Stop biting yourself, Fox. Stop biting yourself. Combo! Yeah! There we go. Oh, I love it when things work. Okay, now let's do some more tests. Let's make sure he's only biting one guy. Combo! Okay, now let's make sure he's only biting the closest guy he's facing. Combo! Interesting. Oh, because she's over there. Okay, let's slide on down, guys. Slide on down. Combo! Yes, she was the closest. Perfect. Okay. Combo! And then I'm also curious about I'll teleport from over here. Combo! Cool. Interesting. And if we go over here. Combo! All right, cool. So it's kind of different. He will attack anybody. He's always going to attack something if he can, and if he's not facing, he'll turn around to bite, which I think makes sense for that ability. He's going to teleport in and bite the closest thing he would be facing, which seems to be working. So. Combo! He's the closest being faced there. Let's see now he should attack the troll. Combo! Yes. Okay, there we go. Okay, that was a a very long-winded bug fix there, but we got it worked through, and we now have a teleporting fox. I blame Zuccarella on this one. He cursed us at the beginning. That's okay. That's okay. It's all in good fun. It's all the programmer's fault. I had a bug with that thing, and it was tricky. But we got Foxy working there, so that will be interesting. One side note, I want to present something. So we've only got 10 minutes left in the stream, so I don't want to start another card. We hit our cap of 3, which seems to be the upper limit of what I can achieve in 2 hours, 3 cards. Not bad. I would have liked to break the record of 4. Maybe next time. Maybe next time. But I have some balance changes in mind. I'm going to talk you through them, and I specifically thought about this one because of the fox. Right, so I'm going to show you guys a card. Some of our players are familiar with this ones. New players or those who have not had a chance to play the game yet may not be. But we have this card here called Breed. Okay, and Breed is a really great, fun card. It's designed with the squirrel deck, the squirrel throwing druid in mind, where it creates a clone of each rodent on the board. And currently the only rodents in the game are squirrels and bunnies. Even though I guess one of them is technically not a rodent. I'm not sure if squirrels are actually rodents or bunnies are actually rodents anymore. But in our game, they're rodents. So the Breed card creates a copy of each of them. Now, I have been long considering increasing the versatility of Breed because I like the idea that you could use it in conjunction with other animals. So, for example, we've got animals like this guy over here. Where is that little guy? Let's little birdie. Okay, he's just a simple little bird. He costs 1. I thought, wouldn't it be funny if you could copy the red starling? Because he's an animal, and he's small, so he could breed quickly, I suppose. Or what about breeding the snake, right? He's another character that is a small animal, but breeding him would make that card have further synergy and further power than it already does. And I kind of like that idea. Like, and instead of having it be limited to rodents, have it be breed a copy of any animal that costs 1 or less. With the idea being, so like Zuccarella says, make it any animal. Any animal would be very, very powerful because then you could breed things like bears or saber-tooth tigers, which are rather large animals, and that would make it pretty broken. In terms of balance, but if it was something like breed a copy of every animal that costs 1 or less, then I could kind of control the balance by making it only small animals. Because it would be hard to breed a bear pretty fast because he's a bigger guy. He doesn't breed like rabbits do or like snakes do. He's not a mass quantity kind of guy. So I thought about that as an idea, and then maybe making it so that the fox was also a one-cost animal, because the real fun with the fox, I think, comes into play when there's two of them, because then you can take advantage of the swap in, swap out effect of it, which is a pretty sweet ability in itself. So that's one idea I was thinking about with that. The concern I have with that ability, making that change, would be that we've got this guy right here called where is he? The wolf. The wolf currently costs 1, and he's got a power that buffs animals. So this would also mean that the wolf would breed as well, and that when he does, you're going to create 2 wolves, and the new wolf will use his Warcry ability to give all of the animals +1/+0. So it could make it changes the balance and the power of the breed card by quite a bit. And one way you could offset that is by increasing the cost. I like that idea less because when we did our initial balance testing, breed was only really fun when it could be used in conjunction with other cards. And when we had the breed cards cost more, it was much harder to pull off combos in the same turn. And so typically what would happen is your squirrels would all get killed by something before you had a chance to breed them, and then it wasn't very fun. So just something I'm playing around with. If you got thoughts on this, feel free to share about that. Yeah, and Imzacross says, I remember you saying something about making rabbits and squirrels cost 0. Exactly. Yeah, so that was kind of one of the ways we would still allow the breed to work. I also do want the breed spell to work with the mutated squirrels. So again, for those who are not familiar with some of the spells, in fact, you know what? Let's go ahead and we're going to show off a couple of these things in context. I believe I've got a deck that's got the squirrel stuff in it. Squirrel feature. Animal growth, animal overrun, breed, squirrels. Perfect. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and show this thing. Okay, so maps. And let's just go ahead and just put it on the grass world. And I'm going to change my summoner to the summoner is going to be the Sylvia Druid. In my deck, I want the squirrel test. Squirrel. Okay. All right. So this is kind of a cool thing about the synergy of Summoner's Fate for those experiencing our game for the first time. One of our design pillars is that every card is awesome, right? Even the lowly 1/1 squirrel is awesome. And the reason every card is awesome is because of the ways you can combine and synergize them. We do not design common cards or throwaway cards or filler content that's there just to serve the purpose of having something for you to scrap and get rid of. And this is one of the key reasons why we recently changed from a free-to-play business model to a premium business model, because I can't reconcile that business model with the design spirit of the game. Right? I don't want to have cards that are so that are crappier versions of other cards that you just want to get rid of because it violates that design principle of every card having value. So something simple like squirrels. This character here, the druid, can throw squirrels at another enemy, and then it makes a squirrel you can then attack with. Okay. She's got another card that can create 2 squirrels for 1. Okay. And then we've also got another card where you can put a squirrel in a deck if you want to just have a single squirrel that costs 0. Right? So if you want to just put the squirrel by itself in your deck, you can. And each one of these is distinctive. Having a 0-cost card means you can play it without having mana, so it has value as a 1/1 still. And it also has value as a spell with summoning 2 of them. Now, here's why the squirrels are important, because even though they are 1/1 and there's other more powerful things, you've got cards that can synergize, like the breed card, which creates copies. Okay? Or you've got cards like this one, Animal Growth, that mutates things, right? I've also been thinking about making this card more versatile. Right now it mutates bunnies and squirrels, but I kind of thought the same principle. It could also mutate other small animals like a fox mutant or a snake mutant or a little red bird mutant would be pretty fun. But this actually transforms. So notice this squirrel had armor, and now his mutant version also has armor, and now he's a humanoid. Humanoid, it's the same effect of giving him a +3/+3, but making him a mutant is actually really fun because now he can wield equipment. He can carry weapons, and you can equip him and make him like a warrior essentially. He's no longer just a quadruped. You can also, if I was mutating a regular squirrel, let's see if this squirrel is mutated into a squirrel, and if I had a little bunny rabbit, let's see, put a bunny on the board. So if I mutate the bunny, Let's see. Let me take the bunny now. Let's start the game over. Okay, so now if I mutate the bunny, he'll become a giant Easter bunny. So there you go. But the point I brought this up, I want the breed card is intended to be able to breed the mutants as well. So if I had squirrels out and I mutated the squirrels, I could then breed them and create double mutants. So the mutants also currently cost 0 because they're based on the original casting cost of the starting unit, which in this case was a bunny. The bunny costed 0, so the mutant cost 0. So the breed will work with the mutants. So very long-winded explanation there, but the idea would be, wouldn't it be cool if the already awesome breed spell could also breed foxes? And you could also mutate a fox into a humanoid club-wielding fox. That's kind of where I'm going with this. Is like, is there a way to make it work like that that doesn't become OP, but that gives you further flexibility and further synergy within the game to create really awesome strategies? Because the idea that you could breed these foxes and then create like basically a permanent wormhole where I can use one to, you know, warp in and warp out. Like, let's just say I had here, actually, this is a great context. Let's say I wanted to do something like, this is why 2 foxes is good. I'm still piecing together how the foxes work. But if I were to have him move in, attack, and now this person is vulnerable to getting killed next turn, so I want to be able to warp him out. Combo! I could warp him out, and then I'm still trying to figure out how the 2 foxes work. All right, let's think of another scenario. I'm still confused as to how I get 2 foxes to do what I want, because I have to move him, which means he can't use his power anymore, and then I guess I would already have to have the fox in place. The fox would have to be starting here. Let's pretend it's over here. There we go. Okay. So now I can warp him into attack. Now I can warp him out. Combo! Safe and get a bonus attack on him. And now this character's been pulled out of there. So there's a situation for 2 foxes. All right. Let's take a look at the comments now, because I've been talking for too long. Okay. Armored squirrels can only be gotten from the spell squirrels. Correct, or if you take the armored squirrel by itself, then you can get a 0-cost armored squirrel. Burly teleporting fox strike squad. Yes. How about a little 1/1 hamster with a wizard hat and a staff that has far shot? There you go. See, all kinds of fun things you could do with the animal. So anyway, there's a possibility. If I were to do that, we could adjust the fox so he becomes a 1-cast animal. Probably would have to reduce his stats, and then you could maybe clone the foxes and have 2 teleporting foxes in your arsenal of animals. Breed a whole bunch of them. Oh, see, then you've got this other kind of spell here, like the Animal Overrun. This is sort of the final card in the summoner and the druid combo, where you've got all these squirrels now, and then you take and go like this. And now every one of those squirrels has been hyped up with additional power, and they can attack diagonally now, so that if you've got somebody like this, they can all get around him and go attack from all the angles. Normally you can only attack adjacent, but with the overrun, you can bounce from the sides, so you technically get them all in there. Same with this guy, he can go on the side or whatnot. So lots of fun synergy you can have with that. But those are some of the different ideas. Again, I'm always looking for ways to not, common problem in these type of games is the power creep. How do you make cards relevant as you add new cards to the set? And with our design principle of every card has value, I want to find ways to make it so that rather than diminishing a card, how do we take an older card and make it relevant again, right? And having additional animals able to breed gives the breed card new life and new synergies and new meaning. It further enhances the value of all the other cards and also expands all the creative choices that a player can have within the game. So just some food for thought and some different things we think about as we design things in the game. All right. Excellent. Flying squirrels. Yes, we're going to have flying squirrels at some point, definitely. There's all kinds of mutations of squirrels we can do. It's been a pleasure streaming here for you today. Once again, I'd just like to remind everybody that we will be we will be pre-releasing Summoner's Fate to the public on our website. Next week is the official date. I will be making all of our official press announcements for this tomorrow to remind everybody. If you haven't already done so, be sure to sign up on our homepage here for the Summoner's Fate newsletter so you get reminded on, where that's subscribe. Here we go. Barbarian, pointing here, subscribe your email address so that you get notified when the release is out and available. And then you'll be able to come and buy the game and join us on the streams. And one of my goals for the streams is to build content and also make it so that as we create these new cards, I can push the updates to you during the stream and we can test these cards out together, which would be a lot of fun. So thanks again for joining us, and I will see you guys next week. Ross out.